1971, a playwright studying at Pomona College in Claremont, California, had a computer terminal connected to the school's mainframe set up in his dorm and began programming games. He saw this new outlet as a form of writing, and over the next decade or so at university, moving from student to grad student instructor, he accumulated a large body of work, but a standout title amongst his catalog came in 1975. When this then student decided to make an unlicensed, digital implementation of a new and little-known tabletop role-playing game that had recently been taking off, called Dungeons & Dragons. The video game he created was dubbed Dungeons and is widely considered to not only be one of the first role-playing video games ever made, but also one of, if not the first examples of turn-based combat used in a video game ever. The student's name was Don Daglow, and they would go on to do a lot of firsts in the industry, including the first MMORPG with Neverwinter Nights in 1991, but that little spark of creativity to digitize a tabletop game in the mid-1970s forever changed gaming. With turn-based games dominating the market in the late 80s and 90s, defining that era of gaming and leading to some of the greatest games ever made. So we thought we'd put together a list of turn-based games that define the genre throughout the years, from the deep-cut classics to the modern-day masterpieces and everything in between. We hope that you'll find something on this list for you, or maybe even see an old friend or two. But as you ponder your next move and prepare for one more turn, let's get into this list. Kicking off the top of our list at number 10 is a modern-day behemoth that proved even in today's fast-paced world, a turn-based game could capture the attention of veterans and newcomers alike, and bring turn-based combat to the forefront of gaming once again. This is Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I imagine if you're watching this video, you've probably at least heard of or played this game before, but if this is new to you, you are in for a treat. Now, Larian originally pitched Baldur's Gate 3 to the owners of Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast all the way back in 2014 after the release of their game Divinity Original Sin, but the company passed on it until 3 years later in 2017 when Wizards of the Coast was impressed with Larian's follow-up game Divinity Original Sin 2 and allowed them to pitch Baldur's Gate 3 to them again, and ultimately resulting in the game being greenlit for production. And the results were amazing. An incredibly fresh, polished, and overall stunning work of art that transcended the bounds of its then waning namesake that had sat stagnant for close to a decade. The game allowed players incredible freedom to do as they please, love who they want, and experience this massive world filled to the brim with secrets, complex characters, and things to do. It went on to win a slew of Game of the Year awards, as it rightfully should have, and is probably one of the greatest RPGs ever made. My friends actually bought me a copy of this game and surprised me with it for my birthday so we could all play it together the week it came out, and it's still some of my favorite memories I've ever had gaming. Larian did something special here, and just like the original Baldur's Gate, it is something that will be talked about long into the future. If you haven't tried it yet, what are you waiting for? And speaking of Larian, at the number 9 spot on our list is a game that took great strides in modernizing the RPG genre as we know it, and set the groundwork for Baldur's Gate 3 almost a decade later. This is Divinity Original Sin. Launching in the summer of 2014, Original Sin follows the story of a pair of source hunters who are members of an organization that are dedicated to eradicating a dangerous type of magic known as Source and its users. And that is only the beginning. This game is pretty special, allowing you to play either solo or multiplayer throughout the campaign and make your way throughout this world that truly felt alive. With reactive gameplay and a non-linear story that would allow you to complete quests in any order you see fit, it really brought the classic turn-based RPG format into the modern age and implemented creature comforts and quality of life features from the very start. The world was truly your oyster in this magical sandbox, and you can really feel the foundations of newer Larian titles in this classic. If you enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3 or maybe just never got around to playing Original Sin or its sequel in 2017, I can't recommend them enough. Seriously, go play them. And moving along to number 8 is chess with robots, monsters, and a whole lot of time travel. This is Subset Games' Into the Breach. Crash landing onto our screens in 2018, one escape pod at a time, Into the Breach is a deep and complex game hidden under a simplistic and easy to learn facade. Featuring fantastic writing from the legendary Chris Avallone, an incredibly deep and thought-provoking combat, Into the Breach is set in the future where humanity is at war against an army of giant monsters known as the Vec. And you, the player, must take control of mech pilots in an attempt to thwart oncoming attacks and save humanity one map at a time. It is tactical turn-based goodness and genuinely one of the most addicting games I've ever played. With a gameplay loop that just sucks you in and makes you feel downright smart. You know, that is until you mess up an easy move and rage quit the game because one of your favorite pilots died. Or so I'm told. Similar to Subset's other hit game FTL, the game is broken down into a way that makes it incredibly easy to pick up and stupendously hard to put down, with the one more turn effect really taking hold here. The art is beautiful, the soundtrack is haunting, combat is precise, and in my opinion, it may just be a perfect game. If you've yet to try this out, please do, it's worth every penny, just don't blame me when you get addicted. And at the number 7 spot on our list is a storied franchise about highly aggressive and lethally destructive earthworms. That's right, this is the 1990 hit game Worms Armageddon. Not exactly the first game to come to mind when you think of turn-based combat, but one that definitely belongs on this list. It's a game that made clear that turn-based games didn't have to be slow or serious, but instead allowed you to gather a group of friends and cause absolute mayhem with sentient worms that somehow have weapons of mass destruction. I don't know the lore. This game was originally intended to be an expansion pack for Worms 2, but eventually was developed into its own standalone game. It is some of the most fun you'll ever have in a game, and is a cultural touchstone for multiplayer gaming to this day. There have been over 18 Worms games to have come out since Armageddon, so it's pretty easy to forget about an entry or two in this franchise. But this is the best of the best, featuring colorful, stylized graphics, highly customizable worms, and some of the best movement in this series. It's a game that's easy to pick up, but hard to master. And even though this game is considered to be the best in the series, I feel it's often overshadowed by modern adaptations of the game, but it's hard to beat a turn-based classic like this one. So get some friends together and start worming it up, or whatever the kids say nowadays. Moving along to number 6, you can't talk about turn-based gaming without including at least one game from this series, and we went with the title that essentially laid the groundwork for all that came after. This is the classic JRPG, Final Fantasy III. Originally launching for the Famicom in Japan all the way back in 1990 and introducing the now legendary job system and summons to this universe, Final Fantasy III is that game that changed turn-based combat forever, allowing players to now switch up things as they progressed, changing classes and abilities, and making for a game that felt much more freeing. It was directed by the series creator, Hironobu Sakaguchi, and was a return to form of the original game, reintroducing the beloved turn-based combat from the first game that was absent and heavily missed in Final Fantasy II, and with it adding the new job subclass shifting system that gave players freedom to customize their characters. It was incredibly influential at the time and laid the groundwork for all Final Fantasies from then on forward. This game has been remade/remastered a couple of times now, and even got a 3D remake in 2006, adding full CGI cutscenes, job redesigns, and expanded the story from the original. It's truly a classic in any form you play it, and a game that helped define a whole genre far into the future. If you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Now, let's move on. And at the halfway mark on our list is a classic series that re-emerged in huge ways and brought a renaissance to the squad-based tactical genre. This is XCOM. With a storied history dating back to the mid-90s with the original Enemy Unknown, aka UFO Defense, the XCOM series has been a staple in turn-based tactic games for over 30 years, reinventing itself many times over and even breathing new life into the genre with later releases of Enemy Unknown in 2012 and the beloved XCOM 2 in 2016, which added procedural map generation and a new concealment system, bringing new depth to the games and refreshing the series for new and old players alike. XCOM is timeless fun that makes you think, and is a game series that many hold dear to them for a myriad of reasons. It has great writing, classic alien invasion storylines that never seem to grow old, incredible combat, and deep lore that keeps you wanting more. Whether you're playing the classic series from the 90s or the rebooted series that started in 2012, there is something here for everyone, and I highly recommend checking them out. It's definitely a universe worth sinking your time into. Moving along to the number 4 spot on our list is another tactical squad-based game known for its deep combat, mercenaries with huge personalities, and an open-ended gameplay style that is still hard to beat by today's standards. This is Jagged Alliance 2. Following up the hit game Jagged Alliance in 1995, Jagged Alliance 2 blasted its way onto our home computers in 1999 and has stayed there ever since. This game gives you an incredible amount of freedom and was genuinely revolutionary for its time, and still to this day. From hiring and managing your mercs and everything in between, to training local militia and capturing mines to help fund your endeavors of conquering the island of Aruco, I can't say that word. There is just so much to do in this game. Now, Jagged Alliance 2 didn't sell particularly well in the USA at the time of launch, but it was a huge hit overseas and has since grown into the sleeper cult hit. It's a perfect blend of strategy, role-playing, and tactical combat that was way ahead of its time and is even part of our preservation program. So it's been updated to run on modern machines for years and years to come. If you've yet to play this game and love this genre, don't skip out on this one. It's genuinely one of the best out there. Before we explored the vast metro system of the Capital Wasteland, or gambled our troubles away at the Vicky and Vance Casino, there was Shady Sands and New Reno. The number 3 spot on our list goes to the classic nuclear role-playing games Fallout 1 and 2. While the modern Fallout games are known for being FPS RPGs, the original set the standard for isometric turn-based CRPGs in the late 90s, with its action point system in modern games known as VATS that allowed you to target limbs and cripple your enemies. It was revolutionary for its time and gave player deep tactical choices in a role-playing setting. These games set about a new way to play in the world of RPGs, shaking up the more traditional turn-based combat of the time and mixing it with a gritty post-apocalyptic world building that was downright criminal for how good it was, and set the foundation and lore for all that was to come after. These games haven't actually aged the best, especially the first game with its countdown timer, but they are products of their time and games that can't be overlooked for their significance, not only to the classic turn-based genre, but their contributions to modern gaming as well. If you love this universe and have never played the originals, they're still worth trying out. Just remember, war never changes. And at the number 2 spot on our list is a series of games about murder, treachery, resurrection, savage battles, and ultimately freedom. This is the legendary game series Heroes of Might and Magic. I mean, what can I say? Is no denying the impact that this series has had and how it helped define the turn-based strategy RPG hybrid in the late 90s. First launching in 1995, these games captured the imagination of adventurers around the world, and still do to this day with modern titles, but really hit their stride in the late 90s with Heroes of Might and Magic 2 and 3. Allowing you to become heroes of your world and recruit armies, move around your map, capture resources, and engage in deep hex grid combat. It defined this subgenre that is turn-based strategy RPG, and is something that developers still try to replicate the magic of to this day. In fact, the games are so significant to the world of gaming that back in 2025, we here at GOG preserved Heroes of Might and Magic 3 complete within an S-Photonics 5D optical crystal, which is the world's most durable data storage, making it the first game ever preserved in this manner. This franchise is truly timeless, and if this game is in your backlog somewhere and you haven't got around to it, don't worry, it will literally be around forever. You'll get to it eventually. And rounding off our list at the number 1 spot is a series you probably guessed if you're a fan of this genre, one that pioneered and defined the 4X design of explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate, and made everyone addicted to taking just one more turn. This is Sid Meier's Civilization series. Originally launching in 1991, this acclaimed series has grown to be one of, if not the biggest turn-based strategy franchise of all time, laying its foundation down early for success and building upon each iteration over the last 35 years. It is a series that is played by millions upon millions to this day, from all age groups, from kids to grandparents alike, and one that I don't see slowing down anytime soon. It's kind of hard to quantify a series as prestigious as Civilization. It has been ported to over 24 platforms, sold over 70 million copies, and even has a board game based off of it. It's a foundational work in this genre and one that will keep getting new versions made until we as a civilization no longer exist. And Civilization being number 1 on our list might be cliche, but try to find something that can beat it. I'll wait. And that's our list, but what do you think of it and what games would you add to it? Let me know down below. I want to hear all your thoughts. And again, thank you for watching. Give that subscribe button a click and we'll see you in the next video.